us with a huge unreasonable debt at ECG. ECG, you were board chairman. You were board chairman. You know how much debt you left. You yourself have admitted it on the floor during debates about how bad the situation at ECG was when you assumed a leadership there as board chairman, and efforts that you also tried to make to address that situation. At the time you were leaving office, you hadn't fixed it. The debts are still lying there. Who's going to pay for those debts? Who is going to pay for those debts? You stopped them in 2024. You stopped PURC from adjusting tariffs because you are afraid of its implications on you for elections. The records are there. You stopped them. He's not denying it. You stopped them from adjusting tariffs in 2024 because you were afraid of the implications on your electoral fortunes if they adjusted tariffs. So the debt kept mounting. Because if you are producing at a very high cost, and then government is forced, ECG is supposed to take it at that high cost, and the ECG doesn't adjust the tariff to reflect the cost at which they are taking the commodity, and yet they are supposed to sell it to consumers at a very low cost. Who is going to pay the differential between how much they are buying and how much they are selling it to consumers? That is normally done through gradual, tariff adjustments, and you stop them from adjusting the tariffs. So the debt just kept ballooning to very, very unreasonable levels. Billions and billions of Ghana cedis of debt at ECG. That has to be addressed. But for the engineering that we have done to make sure that lights never go off so that they can always afford diesel to run the power plants for us to have 24-hour electricity, it would have been very difficult. But even as you do that, you must work towards a sustainable arrangement. And one of it is that you must be realistic in terms of the adjustment of tariffs. In addition, you must deal with the inefficiencies and the corruption. The corruption. I'm told that as ECG, they've procured things that they need in the next 4 or 5 years. You procure for just a year, and then the next year you procure, and the next year you procure. Why do you go and procure things that you need for 5 years? Some of them, their lifespans don't even go up to 5 years. So they will get destroyed in the process, and that will be causing financial loss to the state. So we are fixing the corruption and the mess there. We are fixing the inefficiencies. We are cutting down on the wastage, and we are trying to make ECG very, very profitable, ECG and NEDCO. And go and see what is happening there. It is now working well. But it takes time to deal with the legacy debts. And Ghanaians need to support us to deal with those issues. At the same time, you must have a long-term strategy to drive down power production cost. So the president and government have decided to increase our gas production capacity. So a new gas processing plant is going to be constructed so that we can have additional gas to be able to power all the gas plants with power plants with gas, so that production costs will come down drastically and we can sell power much, much cheaper to both household consumers and for industrial use. In the meantime, government has also decided that we are going to look at the distribution challenges. There's so much infrastructure challenge that is causing a lot of wastage in the distribution. So if you buy 10 megawatts of power as ECG from a power producer, because your infrastructure is inefficient, by the time it gets to the consumers, let's say 2% of it has been leaked through inefficiencies. So you need to fix the distribution infrastructure. So when you buy 100%, by the time it gets to the consumers, even if there is, some waste, maybe some 0.something%, leakage and waste, then the full amount, close to the full quantity of what you have purchased actually gets to the consumers. Second thing is inefficiency in the collection of revenues. And so government has also decided that we are introducing private sector participation in the distribution and the collection of the electricity tariffs. And so when we do that, look, the global best practice is that utilities are able to recover 98% of their revenues. That's the global best practice. In Ghana, ECG was collecting only 85%. 85%. But the global best practice standards is 98%. So the difference between the 98% and 85% was actually loss occasioned in the distribution and the revenue collection. So we want to bring in private sector participation.